Hey everybody, welcome back. Fork is in the books. We're jumping right into the Sabine. Kind of an interesting one. This could be a tricky one from fantasy perspective, looks like to me. So we'll see. Got as much research done as we could in a quick turnaround. So let's dive right in and pick this thing. We do still have time to join the group if you have not yet. I think we're over 1,000 members there, so that's kind of cool. That's definitely the most we've had involved in that group on Bassmaster Fantasy. So thank you to everybody playing along there. With that said, let's dive right in. Bucket A, this was a really tough one to pick. I actually broke a rule of mine. I'll talk about that here in a second. But a few good options in this one. Cox, shallow water, always good. He hasn't done fantastic here, but in his 2 Elite Series events here, he was 16th and 36th. So a couple of good finishes, good option there. Fighters had some good finishes here, coming off a nice tournament at Fork. Livesey is going to want to rebound after a tough Fork tournament. We were fortunate not to be one of the huge percentage that picked him, but certainly surprised a lot of people there. I'm not sure what's going on with him at Fork. You know, he's got 2 wins there, and then the last 2 years he hasn't even competed. So I don't know what the deal is there, but he's going to look for a bounce back for sure, and he's got some good history at the Sabine. Walters in this one, 24th and 32nd. Decent finishes with good finishes, but not, you know, we'd like to have somebody in Bucket A competing for a win, hopefully. So here's where it got interesting. I had a really tough time narrowing it down between Kyoyo Fujita, Trey McKinney, and Jay Zakurat. Jay Zakurat absolutely on a roll. McKinney fishing as well as anybody. Fujita having a really nice season, plus he was 19th here in June of 23, which made him enticing. To eliminate one of these guys, the cardinal rule I broke is I never watch other YouTube picks before I make mine. I don't want it to cloud my judgment, but I decided to go watch what Hellabass did. Rich, I watch his a lot after I've made my picks, and he took Zakurat in this one. And not to spoil the rest of my picks, but our buckets are very similar. And so I decided, just to make sure I'm a little bit different than him, I eliminated Zakurat. Not a great reason to eliminate somebody. He's a very strong pick if you're looking for one here. I don't think he's had a bad... What's his worst tournament this year? 30th? So he's had a really good season, rolling on AOI way out in front. But I am going to pick between Fujita and McKinney. McKinney with no history here, but I don't think there's anybody fishing as good as him right now, even Zakurat. So I'm going to pick between McKinney and Fujita. Really, really tough one to narrow down. With Fujita, you got 4.8% picking. This could be a good one to grab some points if he can have a nice finish. But ultimately what I decided to do, we're grabbing Trey McKinney in Bucket A and we're going to roll with it. I'm a little hesitant because he typically, we think of him as a guy that's done well on when he can scope them. However, he was, what was he, 3rd at the Pasquotank River? Very similar situation, shallow water river system. So he's got it going everywhere. I think he's probably, arguably, the most talented angler on tour. Certainly a couple guys, your crew included, would have a say about that. But I'm going to roll with McKinney in this one. Like I say, if I had a 3-headed coin, I would have flipped it for these 3 guys. So I think all 3 are really good picks, but I'm going to roll McKinney in A. The predictor in Bucket A, pretty similar to me, although with McKinney not having any historical, they kind of leave him out. So Zakurat and Fujita were the top 2, really similar scores. Fujita top at 46.8, Zakurat 46.5 in Bucket A. Bucket B, not quite as strong. Honestly, I would take Bucket E top to bottom over this Bucket B probably. But a couple good options here. Don't have them highlighted. Wes Logan's a guy I thought about. Porosnik with an 11th last time. You know, I love me some Porosnik. Tyler Williams, no history here, but sets up really well for the way he likes to fish. Same with Wesley Gore. Wesley Gore is one of those guys outside of a tournament or two. He could really make a season for you. He's been so strong the last couple years. But for me, this one came down to Fothergill or Mosley. Fothergill, very similar to McKinney, just really, really fishing well right now. He had those 2 in Florida to start the year that he really struggled. You see some guys take a year or 2 to kind of settle into the Elite Series. He evidently needed 2 tournaments. You know, and since those 2 in Florida, he's been rock solid. So I expect him to do well here. However, I am going to go Brock Mosley in this one just for the historical aspect. 1st, 2nd, and 12th in the last 3 here. Really strong pick in this one, exactly how he wants to fish. You really couldn't dream up a better tournament for him, and it shows over the last 3. So I'm going to pick with Mosley. Think that he keeps it rolling in Bucket B. Predictor in this one, Mosley way out front, 60.95. I believe that's top in the tournament. Fothergill a distant second at 19.75. So same two from the predictor in bucket B. Bucket C, another one with some good options. Jason Christie, really high pick percentage because he won here 2 years ago. Interesting thing you'll notice, a lot of guys that did well in 21 did not do well in 23. Him included. He was first in 21 and 74th in 23. That 2021 tournament was in early April. 2023 was the first week of June. So I think we're going to trend more towards that one, which gives me some hesitancy with Christie. Same with a guy like Rivette, 17th in 21, 53rd in 23, not as good. Hunter Shryock, a strong pick here, 6th in 2023, 27th in 2021, so some good picks. Ultimately for me, though, it was between two guys, John Cruz and Kyle Welcher. John Cruz has some really strong finishes here. He's fished 5 tournaments. I'm actually shocked he only has 2.6% because he's gone 26th, 6th, 6th, 28th, and 18th. Really strong finishes from him, especially for a guy in bucket C. And only 2.6%, so he was a really good option here. However, I am going to go with a little more of the crowd in this one. I'm going to take Welcher. A guy that's another one kind of like Mosley. You couldn't dream up a better scenario for him. He could throw that trolling motor down and just power fish his way through this whole river system. And he's got 2 top 10s to show for it in the last 2 here. So he's done it under different conditions. He showed up in the top 10 both times. We're hoping he does it again. Kyle Welcher in bucket C. Predictor in C, once again, same 2. 55.6 for Kyle Welcher out in front. 34.3 for John Cruz in second place. So once again, the predictor really strongly favors our pick of Welcher at 55.6 in this one. Into bucket D. Another one I had a tough time picking. A couple guys in this one. Dakota Hebert. Style-wise, once again, this is going to be a fit. Cliff Perch did well here in 2023. We expect this to be somewhat similar to that one, or I do anyway, so he'd be a good option. Ray Hanselman has a couple of 21st place finishes in 23 and 21, so again, a guy that's done pretty well under different conditions here. Should do well again. Texas guy. Ultimately, though, it's Hackney or Summerall for me. Greg Hackney with the huge pick percentage in this one, 45.7%. He's won here in the past. He was a top 5 another time. He was 17th in 23, really strong pick. Don't blame anybody for picking him. However, I am going to go away from him in this one. I'm going to take Summerall. 16th and 7th in the last 2, a couple of really good finishes. He had that 66th back in 2018. If I remember right, I think that was his rookie year. So not everybody comes in like Fothergill and McKinney and is ready to just steamroll things. Some guys take a little time to settle in. He certainly seems to have. And so I'm going to roll Summerall in bucket D. On the predictor side, Hackney, once again, way out in front, 55.85. Summerall in second at 29.55. Into bucket E. Some strong picks here. Like I said, up in, I believe it was bucket B. Top to bottom, I'd probably take this bucket over bucket B. Certainly you have some top-heavy guys in bucket B that we expect to do really well. But all across this one, some really good options. Stephen Kennedy, I've talked about him a lot in the past. My love-hate with picking Stephen Kennedy, but he's got a fairly strong history here. This suits up well for how he wants to fish. Kenta Kaimura, top 10 when we were here in 23. Good pick, good option. Gerald Swindle has a second here back in 2018, so he's done well. Matty Wong was 3rd in 2023 when we were here, and he's got not a lot of pick percentage at 8.5, so he could be a good option. Ultimately, for me, it was between Alex Wetherell and Matthew Robertson. Wetherell was top 10 in 2023 here at 8th. However, I am going with Matthew Robertson in this one for the same reason we've picked a couple other guys. He was 5th here in 23. He was 11th here in 21. Certainly hasn't had the season he would like, but it seems like he's got this place figured out. Once again, has done well here under multiple conditions. Expect him to keep that going, hopefully, and hopefully rise out of bucket E with a good finish here. On the predictor side, 48.7 for Robertson and 45.25 for Matty Wong. So a good strong number for Matty Wong in this one, courtesy of that 3rd place. Once again, my team, McKinney, Mosley, Welcher, Summerall, Robertson. Tiebreaker, another interesting one. I've got it set right at 50 pounds. Now, if you look at the past 5 tournaments here, only one angler has hit that 50-pound number. That was Faircloth back in, I think, 15, maybe 13 even. So it'll take some doing to get to 50. However, we just consistently see guys really figure things out and post these weight records Certainly scoping has a lot to do with that. So I'm going to set my tiebreakers a little bit higher than we've seen going forward. I thought I was doing that at fork and it blew it out of the water. I talked about probably being low on that, but even my optimistic guess when I was talking through that one was low. I expect that to be here. I think we have somebody get into the 50s. I'm going to set mine right at 50 and think I maybe am a little conservative. We could see somebody get a little higher, but it's hard to say. Really, really tough place to find big fish. So 50 pounds is my tiebreaker. So thanks everybody once again for playing along. If you have not, join our group on Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. We will see you on the next one. We got a little more of a turnaround, more than 3 days or 4 days anyway. So, but we will see you on that next video. Thanks again for watching. Good luck, everybody.